When I was a little girl, I had a lot of faith. I was the girl who prayed every day in the lunch cafeteria at school. Not out loud, God. Just a joint at the hands on the top of my lap. I'd squeeze as hard as my palms could, and thanked a man I've never known for allowing me to eat. For as long as I can remember, I've had to prove to someone that I was good enough. Malcriada Productions would like to offer a warning of graphic content ahead. Please check in with yourselves and enjoy the show. Thank you. Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of Malcriada, Thoughts of a Girl in a Sick World. And what a sick world it is. This is your host, Zadria Knives, here to talk to you about all things femme, fair, and feared. Thank you so much for being here. Today we're going to be talking about religious trauma and brujeria. Ooh. At the end of the episode, I have a phone call with my mom where she's talking about her grandma who practically raised her, and she used to be a witch. She was a bruja, she was a nurse, she did a lot of things in her life, and I hope you guys tune into that because I really find it really fascinating. And I don't know, I feel like kind of a lineage of, you know, brujitas and shit. So my mom has always, like, I don't know, moms are always, to me at least, my mom, people would always call her a witch, a bruja, like my family. Like my grandma would be like, if she would guess something, my grandma would be like, oh, you're a witch, whatever. My dad, like, she would predict stuff to my dad. She'd be like, this is gonna happen. If you do this, this is gonna happen. And he was like, whatever, like, you're full of shit. And that same thing ended up happening. And yeah, like, we chalk it up to the saying, like, oh, haha, it was coincidence, it was whatever. But no, like, my mom has, like, I generally think she has this sort of knowledge that only moms can have, and only a person who has been conditioned in the way women have been conditioned can have, if that makes sense. And yeah, I'm gonna talk about my experience with brujeria, my everything. Yeah, I grew up religious. I was very religious as a child. Both my parents were religious in different ways. My mom would always, if she learned something new, she adapted, right? My dad was raised a Catholic, diehard Catholic. Oh, well, up until recently, things have changed just a little bit, but that is basically me setting the tone for my yummy childhood full of happiness and joy. Yeah, I went to Catholic school. I went to Catholic school in Nuevo Laredo, and the nuns were always, like, trying to blame something on me. And I think now it's because I don't think they liked my mom. I'll explain. In a bit I'll explain. They were so strict. They had a very strict dress code that didn't just apply to the uniform. It applied to the way you have your fingers cut, the way your hair is, etc. And it was just so weird. It was also very strict, and yeah, it was just a very awful place. Like, I hate the way schools treat children, and this is just like in every school, I feel like, but especially when one is like Catholic, or one has like a religion put into it, because they're like, yeah. And this goes for both, like, Catholic schools, like Mexico and the US, like, fucking crazy. All schools are very, very insane. But yeah, like, the nuns were, I don't know, they had it out for me because, one, I kind of, like, missed a lot of school. And I was, I guess, too loud or a troublemaker. I don't know. Like, they would pull me to the principal's office for the dumbest reasons and would like blame a lot of stuff on me that wasn't my fault. But the reason the nuns didn't like my mom was because she would say like, no, I'm not Catholic, I don't believe in the Virgin Mary, like there at school in front of the nuns. And she would have them like going like that. It was so funny. And she would be like cackling like, oh my god, slay. Queen, she ate. No, but yeah, this was like the relationship I kind of knew between my mom and my dad. Like she was always like kind of not going against him, but like she just didn't agree with a lot of the things he agreed on. And one of the things was like she wanted to express her own religion, her own freedom of expression, and she didn't believe in the Catholic stuff. She was like, this makes no sense, like this generally makes no sense. I'm not gonna say I believe in it. Yeah, you're the father and you can put them in whatever school you want to, but you can't change me. She was very rebellious like that, and I really liked that about her. And my dad was always just like, oh, Catholicism is just, that's what I was taught, that's what I want to teach my children, whatever. But he didn't really teach us. He just was like, I'll pay someone to do it. And honestly, I don't know what the fuck that was. I wasn't there for long because I immigrated with my family, I believe at 6, and I was thrown into public American school, and it was awful. Got bullied, all that shit, and now I'm here. Throughout that time, I thought about religion up until now. It's been such a big part of my life, and not in a positive way, in a way that I wish it never was. And when I went to school, when I educated myself, when I learned my history, when I learned everything, I learned that, the only reason so many Latinos and Latinas, Latina folk are Catholic, Christian, whatever, like a Christ-based religion, is because of colonization. And it's so an assimilation. And if you aren't Catholic, then we're going to fucking kill you and grape your wife and children and shit. So I understand. I don't blame my parents because, well, they didn't know any better, and you can't really blame someone for not knowing any better. After I told them everything, then that's different, right? I'm kidding. No, we're on the healing journey. Things are good, but fuck, dude, like I'm so traumatized, and it's not even cute or funny or quirky because I just have this, it's just in my head. And it's weird. Like people are like, oh, stop replaying that stuff in your head. You're doing it to yourself. Like, no, like it lives in my head. I wake up in the morning and I don't pray anymore. I used to wake up and be like, oh, thank you, Lord. Thank you. Not in English, in Spanish. I'd be like, oh, gracias, Señor, por dejarme abrir mis ojos una vez más, this and that. And because that's how my mom would pray. So I would pray like my mom. And so I would pray in the morning, right before I woke up, right before I ate, randomly, and right before I went to sleep, like on my knees praying. And I'm not saying like, fuck you, God, for never answering my prayers. It's just like, oh, he doesn't exist. Okay, that makes more sense. Thank you. And it's hard to get out of that and not feel guilty, because I was told, like I was a little kid and I was like, oh, if you do this, you're gonna go to hell. And I always felt so guilty. Every time I was in a church, something just felt off. It didn't feel good. I felt judged. I'd always thought, this was a thought in my head, oh, they're gonna find me out. I have to act good. I have to prove myself. I have to prove that I am good and I do deserve heaven. I do deserve a good life. I do deserve to be happy. I do deserve everything. And as I grew up, I quickly realized that that's not how it works for everyone. It only works for a certain type of people. And if you're not that, then fuck you. You're going to hell. Metaphorical hell. Not real hell, because again, it doesn't exist. I wish I could say I apologize for anyone who believes in these kinds of things, and if it works for you, it works for you, and that's great for you. But I will not apologize for this belief that I have, that is that no religion created by man can be of any good. And I'm not just talking about man in the sense of a male human being. I'm talking about any human being. That's why brujeria interests me a lot, because brujas don't say that, oh, like, I have this power, only I could do that, only God could do, you can only do this. You're working with what's already there. You're working with nature, with your intuition, with your mind, instead of trying to suppress all your quote unquote sinful urges. And I love that. I was always attracted to that, and I always wondered why. And then my mom, I would ask my mom questions about her and her life. And mom, like, ¿por qué papá te dice bruja? Like, ¿qué haces? ¿Por qué te dice así? I was like, oh, she'd be like, oh, mija, yo no soy bruja, pero ¿sabes quién era? Tu bisabuelita. And she would tell me stories about my great grandma. And I just feel really connected to her because, well, she's the one that chose my name. And I don't know, like, it's just a really nice connection, and I've never experienced that before. Usually I think, oh, well, all the members of my family are shitty. Like, oh, they're probably this, probably that. They probably already did this, and they do. Like, I hear all the dumb shit that they do, like uncles. It's mostly uncles. Uncles, mostly the men. And the thing with the women is that they're mostly like, they're apologists and their biggest supporters. It's like, oh, this man is a fucking abuser and he abuses his kids and he abuses his wife, but the wife is not saying anything, so it must be fine, right? Okay. And if the children are saying that anything else is wrong, then they're lying, because obviously the wife is fine. She wouldn't stay there if she wasn't being abused or whatever. And these are the people that go to church. These are the people who pound on the Bible. These are the people who judge other people for not being married, for not having kids, for not being a quote unquote good wife, for not being a quote unquote good husband. No, not even, like, because men don't get told they're a bad husband ever. Because when you're an abuser, you get defended. When you were a good husband, you get defended and loved. When you are a bad husband, you get excused and still loved. And still people ask for forgiveness on your behalf to your wife. It's weird. It's so weird. It's so fucking weird. And this is what churches are filled with. I understand that not everyone is a fucking horrible human being. But guess what? I feel like if you're not a horrible human being in a church, it's because you yourself just aren't a bad person. Not because the organization and the ideals that this organization teaches are any good. When I was a little girl, I think I logicked my way out of being a quote unquote believer. And it was awful. It was awful seeing like that rejection from my mom. Thankfully, we worked out through it and she learned and grew, and I'm happy for her. But I'm still dealing with it now that I have my own place, now that I'm separated from my family, and I'm able to process trauma honestly, and just like actually think like, oh, what the fuck happened? And the thing is, like, okay, here, these are the religions that I've gone through, guys. I was raised a Catholic school. We know this. Okay. Then I was an evangelical Christian because my mom, like, that's the church she would go to when we moved to the US. Then she started talking to a Jehovah's Witness. But you know what? Here's the thing. Here's something I noticed with my mom. My parents' relationship was very toxic, much like a lot of immigrant children's parents. But yeah, it was very toxic, very abusive, etc. in every sense. And one of the senses was religion. My dad wanted to establish a Catholic household, and my mom didn't, because she didn't believe in that. So she would have to pursue her own religion in secret. And, well, she can't just go to church by herself, right? And leave all the kids. So what would she do? She would take us. She would take us to the evangelical Christian churches, which were huge. They were fucking huge, dude. And I actually was like, oh my god, I should totally dance and join the dance club when I'm older. I was like a little kid. They were huge and scary. Always dark. It looked like a big movie theater. People were just crying on the floor. Anyways, then it was Jehovah's Witness. And because my parents' relationship was so unstable, my mom was not happy. My mom did not have a community. My mom was a victim. My mom was alone. And as a woman with a very narcissistic, misogynistic, machista ass husband, you can't have friends. You cannot have friends. All your friends are annoying. All your friends are conspiring against me. So you cannot have friends. Boom. Okay, I can't have friends. He got to have friends. He got to have a community. He got to meet other people. He got to have a whole ass life outside of the family. And my mom didn't. She couldn't leave the house. She had kids to take care of. That would drive someone crazy. So of course, now I understand. Of course she's going to seek out religion. And the thing is, she did this behind my dad's back, and they would have so much fights about it, like, you're brainwashing the kids, whatever. My mom had have some flaws, because like in any religion that if she believed, she was like, okay, now you're gonna learn this. You know what I mean? And it was just really vexing and scary, because like I would just randomly have new tutors now. Like, you know, I had tutors to teach me Bible stuff, and I didn't even know what religion we were doing. You know what I mean? What we were thinking about. It was the same thing. If it wasn't, who are these people? Why are they telling me that there's a man in the sky watching my every move? I remember one of the stories that they shared was when, I don't know who the fuck it was. Was it Abraham? One of those motherfuckers, where God asked one of the prophets or whatever to take your son to the top of the mountain or whatever and kill him. And so the dude, he did it. He went up, he was like, let's go, son. And he tied him up, and he was like right about to fucking do it. He was right about to do it. And then God was like, wait, no, stop. You've proven your loyalty to me as a servant. And I was like, dude, what the fuck? Why is it okay for him, because we can't see him, hear him, or feel him, to do that kind of things? Why would I want to be devoted to someone who says, hey, kill your kid for me? And you know what my mom would say? She'd be like, no, see, like, yo haría eso, I would do that. I'm like, I would ask her, like, Mom, you're not gonna do that to me, right? And she'd be like, of course I have to do that. Like, of course. It's a proof of God before my children. And I have to trust God. See how God didn't have him kill him? He just said it. Or maybe he could have brought you back. He's God. To a kid, imagine how that sounds like. This made me feel like I had to always constantly win the approval of my parents and win the love of my parents, sometimes in competition to God. I wanted to be loved like God. Yeah. Anyways, so I logicked the fuck out of that. I logicked my way out of that shit. I was like, okay, I grew up, I think it was around middle school, where I was like, Mom, I'm not going to the congregation with you anymore. I am sorry. And she would be crying and all this stuff. And she'd be like, why? What are you doing? All this stuff. Yada, yada, yada. And I'd be like, I just don't like it. I don't believe it. It makes me feel weird. I don't want to go. It doesn't feel right to me. And also, they were dicks to me. They were such dicks to me. Dude, we were dancing. We made a little dance to I think it was Willow Smith's song. I whip my hair back and forth. It was one of those like fun it was just little girls dancing. We're like, oh, it's someone's birthday or it's a party, let's perform, whatever. So we did a little choreography, and then we started dancing, and then they cut off our music. They were like, that's too sexual. And they're like, you're not gonna perform. And they kicked us out. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, I was a little kid. Why are you sexualizing me? At the time I was in elementary. And it just feels awful. And it's not just that. It's like, it was the policing of my body at church, and it was the policing of my body in my own home. Like, I had no privacy. All right, a little learning moment right now. All right, so girls, anyone with a vagina, if you have a vagina, listen up. So if you are going through puberty, your body's gonna change, your body's gonna do a lot of weird things that you're like, what the heck? That felt weird. I know, it's crazy. But when I was a flowering child and I was blossoming into a baddie, a sexy Latina baddie, I learned that this thing comes out of your vagina, and it's called discharge. Yay! And it's completely normal. It's a little like substance that comes out of your vagina, and it's basically the vagina cleaning itself. And you could tell a lot from it. I would look up like the consistencies and what they tell you. If you're a little confused, if you know what it is, if you don't know what it is, but it's basically that. And my mom didn't know what discharge was. My mom didn't know what discharge was, and she would do my laundry as a child. And I was like 11 or so when I got my period, when I started like the puberty process or whatever. So she would get my underwear and she would see that there was discharge on it now. She thought that was like wetness, or like she thought like I was horny. And she was like, yes, andas bien calenturienta con esa cosa en tus chones, yo ya te vi, no andes haciendo cosas, like, that's how I was taught. That's how sex was introduced to me. Like, don't do it. Don't be gross. Don't be a slut. My body was just doing its natural thing. My body was cleaning itself, making sure it was clean and I didn't get any bacteria or an infection on one of the most absorbent parts of the female body. And that's how it was. Like, that's the effect. That's what I saw. That's what I thought was the effect of Christ-based religions, man-made religions. It was just to police and control not only women, but the world. Now, I say fuck that shit, and I'm a fucking bruja. I'm a fucking witch. And how did that start? I started with, obviously everyone starts off with crystals, candles, cinnamon, intentions, and that's basically what it is. That's what witchcraft is. There's many variants of it. This type of like belief has been appropriated, changed, interpreted in different ways. But when I just say brujeria, witchcraft, I just think of tarot. I think of shadow work. I think of wishes. I think of manifestations, moon rituals, and it's just you putting your intention with nature. That's it. That's all there is. No, I don't believe in the devil. I don't believe in God. I don't think that is a good way to think about it. And when you think about it, that's so binary. Like the fact that you, like the idea that there's only good and evil, and that's not true. And I feel like that's always the case with capitalism, white supremacy, sexism, classism, all that bullshit, racism. It's always so binary. This is good, this is bad. Women are good, men are good, women are bad. Poor people are bad, rich people are good. BIPOC are bad, white people are good. That's all there is. That is the binary. And when you step out of it, your whole world opens and you can interact with people and live in such a different way, in a way that you're not tied down, in a way that you think, oh, it's okay. I'm not scared of living anymore. I'm not scared that I'm under a glass where people are looking at me. If I sin, if I don't, what I do, judgment, judgment, judgment. Fuck that. Fuck you. I don't give a fuck. Fuck that. Ugh. Okay, sorry for that one. But yeah, and I think that it's a beautiful way to just ground myself, and I think that that's fucking cool. That's pretty much it. That's the episode, you guys. Like, okay. But I must say this, because of all these systems, these horrible, cruel, evil systems that have been placed upon us, it's very hard to get out of this mindset, to get out of the matrix, if you will. And it's hard because that's all there is. That's the system. That's how it's set up already. And for us to transition as a society, as a civilization, to another type of government, another type of society, we first need to unlearn all the bullshit we learn. And sometimes that's not easy. It's not easy at all. Either you have to learn through trauma, through abuse, like most activists do. They've fucking gone through the fucking worst shit ever. Or you learn through someone who already went through that and already knows better. And the thing is, this is the thing that fucking pisses me the most out of everything. The people who are going to be consuming the content, the type of content where amazing creators are pushing, like, content about how to deconstruct your misogyny, your racism, your white supremacy, all that fucking bullshit, like I said before. There are people pushing this kind of content and trying to get the word out there in a cheap, effective way, fast way that'll get to a lot of ears fast. But guess what? All the algorithm already just goes along with what you already like. So all the people who actually need to hear this stuff aren't going to hear it. And though it could be accessible to a lot of people, many people might not even see it because they don't even have the time to be on TikTok. Maybe they don't know how to work a phone. Shit, maybe they don't even have a phone. I just want to make sure that it doesn't sound like I'm blaming the people for being ignorant, but more the fact that the people who are in charge of the systems are just making it completely impossible for all the citizens of the world to literally unite and be like, what the fuck? Why are we paying to drink water? You know, I like to think that witchcraft is one of my ways of rebellion. Yeah, maybe I can't control what people think. I can't control and make people treat each other with kindness and respect. I cannot do that because I'm one person. But witchcraft helps me feel more connected to everyone regardless of the state of the world. And at the same time, it's a weapon against it. Because you mentioned witchcraft in like a space where it's kind of like taboo. People are scared. Like, I don't know. I think that has to have some power, right? But yeah. So I'm going to play the recording I have of my mom talking about my great grandma and her crazy, crazy life story. I hope you enjoy it as much as I love hearing it every time. She's told me this story lots of times, but I love hearing about it because I just think, wow, like that woman, Socorro Huitron, was so strong. I just wish that she got to live a life where she didn't have to be strong all the time. I think we have that in common. All right, I hope you guys enjoy this recording and in memory of my great grandma, and I'll see you guys at the end of it.
Yo le creía todo lo que ella me decía. Ella me decía que ella salía de noche, se juntaban a hacer rituales y me traía lunetas, googleas lunetas. Ella tenía como un bol de cristal y me decía, ten, mi amiga, apúntalo, Tucutúa, porque era la bruja Tucutúa. Luego puedes googlear el nombre a ver qué tiene. Decía que era la bruja que ella le daba dulces para mí.
Oh, ¿de verdad?
Pero eran lunetas de colores. Y los dulces siempre están muy relacionados con la brujería, no sé si lo sé. Y ella decía que salían de noche a volar y a hacer sus ritos. Y en la mañana me decía, anoche estuve con mi amiga la bruja Tucutúa y te mandó estos dulces. Y me daba un bol de cristal chiquito con lunetas mexicanas. Son como un emanente. ¿Los conoces, no? Las lunetas. Es un chocolate plano, como una luna plana,
Ajá, ajá, ajá.
forrado de dulce, como el M&M, de colores. Y la brujería está muy relacionada con los colores, porque usan los colores para cada cosa. Ella sí te decía el futuro. Ella sí te decía el futuro. A nosotros la familia nos los dijo, a mí me lo dijo culero, así culero gacho va. O sea, así, tal cual mi vida. Pero yo creo que eso es que no debe. Yo en mi persona pienso que en uno no debe de creer eso porque
Sí.
está escrito ahí y tú lo puedes cambiar y es lo malo. Se predispone uno bastante. A ella no le gustaba ver sufrir a la gente y hacía muchos remedios, mucha hierba, buenos y malos, porque venían las mujeres, mi marido me golpeó y estoy embarazada. Y hervía ella monedas de cobre y se los daba a las mujeres y ahí mismo en unas horas abortaban. La buscaban mucho por eso, porque como ella había sufrido mucho y ella no le gustaba ver que golpearan a las mujeres, ella decía, aborta. Si tú quieres abortar, aborta. Y nunca cobraba. Tenía el don de la profecía, dicen ahora que todos lo tenemos. Unos lo tienen más desarrollado. Y la gente profecía lo que está en la Biblia. No, yo soñé que tú ibas a tener una niña. Yo le dije, por ejemplo, a Kimberly va a estar embarazada y va a tener una niña. Y ya, y luego se ríe la abuela cuando pasa y nada más me dice, bruja, ave de mal agüero. Pero no se sientan oye, ¿cómo es que lo supo? O sea, a veces piensan que muchas lo dicen por hablar y mucha gente lo tiene más desarrollado que otros. Pero eso sí tenía. Ella te leía la mano, te leía las cartas, el don de la buena cocina. Dicen que una bruja siempre sabe cocinar rico, quién sabe, pero mi abuela cocinaba delicioso. Curar, la bruja siempre tiende a curar sin cobrar nada. Ella siempre tenía lleno, me inyecta, si tenía medicamento para gente, atendía a gente con SIDA, fue la única que atendió a una pareja gay que murió de SIDA, los atendía, los cuidaba, los alimentaba, porque decía, abuela, ignorantes, eso no se pega, que esto, que el otro, los cuidó, ella no discriminaba a nadie. Ella decía que siempre tenías que dar de comer al que viniera a tu casa a pedirte, o a pedirte agua, a desconocidos que venían viajeros, que porque eran esas almas. Ella sabía que estaban atadas aquí en un plano y que ella decía que ella podía ver cuando eran personas o cuando solo eran almas.
Oh, wow.
Y siempre les daba, pero cuando más se aseguraba cuando ella iba a agarrar agua y no podía, y se iban, regresaba, decía que esas almas no pueden tomar agua. Están en un plano donde no pueden comer. Nada más van y piden, pero no pueden. Y ella decía, ese era un ánima en pena. Me vino a pedir, pero no me recibió. Dijo, porque no puede tomar. Y ella podía verlo, porque hay gente que tiene despierto eso, y mucha gente no cree. Nacen con esa parte que según todos la tenemos, pero que unos la desarrollan naturalmente, ver entidades que no están en este plano, que aparentan estar. Ella no sabe cuándo nació, no sabe de qué edad tenían, no sabemos de qué edad murió porque nunca supo qué edad tenía ella.
Oh my God.
Porque la regalaron y no le dieron nada, ni fecha, ni nada. No sabe realmente, más o menos porque la regalaron de bebé, pero ella no sabe qué fecha nació, no sabe. A ella la registraron algún día y eso le pusieron sus padres adoptivos, muy locos, católicos excesivos, que los llevaban a las 6 de la mañana a la misa, a las 12 de la mañana de la misa, a las 6 de la tarde a la misa, 3 veces al día los llevaban a la misa. Y eran personas súper católica, súper castigadora. La encerraron en sus 2 embarazos en un sótano, porque se enamoró de un muchacho que le rentaba un departamento, un cuartito, y como ella era la que cobraba la renta, salió embarazada y la encerró su mamá. Todo el tiempo cuando se enteró que tenía panza y que estaba embarazada, la encerró. Y hizo que las niñas, fueron 2 embarazos, no las registrara ella, las registraran como su hermana. Y ella ya le gustaba mucho, ya miraba cosas sobrenaturales, y cuando se fue, ella escribió a una revista buscando novio, encontró novio, porque así se hacía, y el hombre le engañó mandando una foto de jovencito, y era un viejo. Y como ya no tenía salida para regresar otra vez a la casa de sus padres, se quedó con el viejo. Abusivo, maltratador, pero su esposo, ese viejo, luego lo cuidó en su vejez, porque en una draga, que son los barcos que sacan la sal del mar, él trabajaba para esa compañía. En un ciclón le partió las piernas un fierro. Entonces, ella en sus últimos años de vejez de él, le cuidó de una invalidez, y así inválido lo tenía que atender y le insultaba, y eres una gorda, hedionda, pues lo insultaba. Y a veces yo no entiendo porque era muy grosera y fuerte, pero entiendo que como no tenía un punto de que la quisieran ni sus papás ni nadie, entonces ahí uno se queda, ¿me entiendes? Uh-huh. Porque no tiene un estándar de respeto, ni de felicidad, ni de autoestima. Y ella llegó a meterse con un hombre y salió embarazada, y el hombre estaba, pues ¿cómo voy a estar embarazada si mi marido está inválido, si es un loco ya ahí? Entonces, como era gorda, no se dieron cuenta que estaba embarazada, y al nacer el bebé lo mató. Al nacer ella misma nació y se lo sacó y todo, lo mató. Porque tú no mereces querer a alguien, porque no mereces tener un hijo de otra persona, porque es una puta que me engañaste, ¿me entiendes? Uh-huh. O sea, llegó a hacer cosas muy atroces por no darle validez a lo que ella sentía. Oye, estás inválido, eres un loco, me golpeas toda la vida, eres un viejo. Sí, pues sí, te cuido, pero yo me enamoré de otra persona y me salí embarazada. Pero no, prefirió callo, porque me van a insultar, me van a valver, me sí, todo. Pero ella ya había estudiado, porque estudió, puedes googlear, en el Colegio Minerva de San Luis Potosí, súper católico. Ella estudió enfermería. Tanta poca cultura, ella no se sentía en donde debería estar, porque ella te hablaba de la hipófisis, de la glándula pineal, de que si tienes la tiroides, la glándula renal, y conmigo hablaba esos términos siempre. Y yo aprendí con ella. Yo de chiquita sabía, si termina la medicina en pan, como diazepam, tonopan, ese es un psicotrópico. Eso se lo dan a los locos, eso se lo dan a los que les duele muchas veces. Si termina en lactamina, sodine, INE, ese es para la nariz, para la tos, para los bronquios, para las alergias. Sí, o sea, ella me enseñaba, platicaba conmigo cosas de posfijos de la medicina, y le gustaba que me gustaba. Pero ella tenía para estar hablando con gente muy educada, ¿me entiendes? En las prácticas de enfermería dice que iba a los hospitales y veía a la muerte, al espíritu que es la muerte, como una mujer cuando ya venía por la gente que se iba a morir, y ella ya la veía, sabía que se iban a morir esas personas. Entonces en el hospital se le desarrolló eso de ver a la muerte, o cuando estaban sufriendo así como en la película de Ghost, La sombra del amor, dice que podía ver así cómo se estaban llevando los espíritus oscuros. Todo eso ella me contaba que existían las sirenas, que todas esas cosas que son espíritus, lo que ahora nosotros nos dicen extraterrestres, no, son seres que existen aquí de todo el tiempo, pero unos no los ven y otros sí los ven. Mi abuelita podía hablar con los chaneques, si googleas los mexicanos, a esos espíritus chaneques son enanitos. Conviven con nosotros, pero no toda la gente los puede ver. Ella siempre hablaba muy sabio, y luego yo le decía, caminábamos por la playa, y él decía, abuelita, ¿por qué estás triste? Y decía, no estoy triste, simplemente que yo siento que nací de una burbuja de cristal. O sea, ella tenía mucha pena por no saber quién era su mamá, su papá. Entonces, no sabe sus orígenes, no sabe nada, sí, de qué nacionalidad, de qué ancestros, no sabe nada y eso la tenía siempre así como que no valía nada. Por eso ella, cuando de la historia que yo tengo de mi abuela, nunca la vi. Si yo no la bañaba, no se bañaba, no se cambiaba. Nunca le vi unos zapatos, siempre usaba chanclas. Tenía un estándar de amarse más bajo. Yo lo tengo súper alto, o sea, bajo, de que yo no merezco comer, nada más la mía las cazuelas, o sea, vivía en tristeza y así siempre la veías con sus ojitos llorosos y enojada, insultando para aparentar otra cosa que no era, ¿me entiendes?
Mm-hmm.
Ahora lo sé, grosera y te defiéndete porque yo no te voy a defender y ante los hombres y ante las mujeres y ante quien sea. Así, pero muy triste siempre ella, muy triste y muy inteligente. Ella no le gustaba, sí, era chismosa y todo lo que quieras, pero ella no se sentía en el lugar de tanta ignorancia.
Mm-hmm.
Sabía inglés y se burlaba de la gente que quería venir a imponer un idioma. Ella me escribía con una letra hermosa. Me traes un culé, o sea, así escribía así,
Mm-hmm.
y ella decía culade. Abuelita, no se dice así, yo soy mexicana y lo leo como está escrito, no como se pronuncia. Pero nomás por llevar la contraria, lo sabía escribir bien. Yo le dije, ¿vas a odiar a mis hijas porque son gringas? No, a tus hijas no. Pero odiaba mucho a esa gente que se venía acá, ay, que los gringos, que voy a casarme con un americano, con un italiano. No, era muy patriota. Hacía felices. Había una retrasada mental que se llamaba Lourdes y mi abuelita le hacía la vida feliz. Ella salía a caminar a veces y ya vine, doña Socorro, mi abuelita con el vocabulario, una fluidez para hablar, yo me quedo corto. Lourdes, ¿por qué llegaste hasta ahorita? Hace rato vino tu novio, te trajo un ¿De veras? Sí, es que ya se quiere casar contigo. Adivina lo que me dejó. Mi abuelita tenía un anillo, un rubí, un anillo de oro barato, pero tenía una piedrita rubí, lo tenía guardado, quién sabe quién se lo habrá dado ahí. Y le dijo, mira lo que me dejó. Mi abuelita se lo dio, se lo puso. Esa mujer fue tan feliz. ¡Ah! Doña Socorro. Y hasta mi abuelita le inventó un nombre, o Francisco, lo que sea. Es que viene aquí, no ves que aquí de tu papá no vas a saber que estás. Esa mujer se quedaba ahí como 2 horas platicando y mi abuelita le construía castillos en el aire. ¿Y cómo le vas a hacer? Yo te voy a hacer tu vestido, vas a ver. Yo te voy a regalar. Yo voy a ser tu madrina. Sí, Socorrito, sí. Era muy buena con la gente. Demasiado buena.
I hope you guys enjoyed that little story about my great grandma. Yeah, she was insane. She was a curandera. She was a nurse. She was a mother. She was a daughter. She was an adoptee, and she faced so much struggle, and she faced so much abuse from Catholicism, and to another extent that I can't even imagine. All I know is the shaming, the words of my family. Sometimes they would get violent, but not in the way, not to me in the way that they abused her. Not at all. And it's crazy to see how these things still happened down to 4 generations that kept happening with my great grandma, my grandma, my mom, and my sisters and I. And yeah, the way I do witchcraft is I'm thinking of her, I'm honoring her, I'm letting her know that she wasn't in the wrong, letting her know that, hey, it's okay, yes, that shit was fucked up. And she would help women get abortions when they wanted to leave their abusive husband. And think what you want about abortions, I don't care. She wasn't thinking of that. She was thinking of helping a woman. She was thinking of helping someone. She was there for her community. And she would help during the AIDS outbreak. My mom would tell me the story that you guys heard. Like there was these guys, unos jóvenes, and she would care for them. She would give them food. She would tend to their sores and anything. She would give them medicine. And she was the only one who would get near them because they had AIDS. And well, she was a nurse. She was like, oh, that can't be transmitted if I just touch them. They're stupid. People who say that are stupid. And just the way that she always she was like, fuck the gringos. Like, I don't know, like, I feel very connected to her, and I needed to make an episode about it because when I was thinking of what to record, I was like, what do I record and what do I write? So I started scripting, and the first thing that came out, hang on, look, this is the first thing that came out. My great grandma, Socorro Huitron, was a nurse and a witch. And then I think I looked up and there was like an angel number. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna make my episode about her. Yay. Yeah, I know she's watching over me in a way. I don't feel her gone. I think she's very much alive in me. So, okay. Thank you so much for watching another episode of Malcriada, Thoughts of a Girl in a Sick World. And what a sick, sick world it is. Hey, but you're still here, and you're still cute, and you're still fighting. But don't worry, you're not gonna go to hell. It doesn't exist. This is your host, Sajir Knives, signing off.